First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And welcome everyone back to Fox 12 Now, a live look there from our ski bowl camera looking up at Mount Hood and some nice blue skies there. And you see some of the snow. I know we've all heard that there has not been a lot of snowpack for this last winter, and that is true, but there are still some dangers and concerns with the snow that is up there when it comes to avalanches. So we're going to be talking about that during this segment, and that is one of the things we get to do here is have these longer form discussions. We're here in studio, so we're here every weekday starting at 1 o'clock going throughout the afternoon. So depending on when you're watching this, thanks for doing so. All right, let's go ahead and bring on our guest right now to talk about this and some of the things that you should be aware of. We've got Dallas from the Northwest Avalanche Center, and thank you very much for being here with us today. And, you know, I think we want to get into talking about the mountain, but I think before we do, for anybody who may not know or understand how it all works, could you tell us about the Northwest Avalanche Center and just some of the work that you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thanks so much for having us. Always glad to talk about the mountains, to talk about snow, talk about avalanches. So the Northwest Avalanche Center serves the Washington Cascades, the Olympic Mountains in Washington, and the Mount Hood area of Oregon. There's also other avalanche centers in the Central Oregon area near Bend, and also out in the Wallowas. So each of these avalanche centers provides generally daily mountain weather and avalanche forecasts for their regions. These forecasts give the users information about what types of avalanches we're expecting to see out there, how potentially dangerous it could be, and some travel advice on what they can do about it. So from basically the fall all the way back in November, all the way through our springtime here into April, we're doing this every single day.
Oh, might have had just a little bit of a freeze there. We're going to see
if people
Dallas
can get out and enjoy these wonderful places in our backyard.
And talking about
my back for you.
Yep, you're back. And this is part A for everybody watching. We're live, so technical stuff happens sometimes. So yeah, we got you. We just missed a tiny bit, but I think we got everything that you were saying there, just what you do. So monitoring this, you know, for the entire winter season of what's going on there. Now, typically, do we see a lot of avalanches, say on like the Mount Hood or Mount St. Helens areas?
Yeah, so avalanches, anytime there's snow in the mountains, there's a risk of avalanches. Sometimes those risks go up, sometimes they go down. It changes every single day, just like the weather changes. So the mountains are really dynamic places, even in these lower snow winters. The weather's still going on and we're still having lots of avalanches. So the key is to make sure if you're going to head out into the backcountry, places that are outside of your ski resorts, outside of the open highways, that you're getting the information from your local avalanche center about what the danger is going to be like for that particular day. Again, it changes every single day, so we want to make sure we have the most up-to-date information.
And so even in these lower snow times, as you mentioned, so like right now up there, since we do have less snowpack than normal, you're saying there still are some dangerous places or could be some dangerous places for avalanches?
Yeah, it really depends on the day. So at the moment, the Mount Hood area and even the Mount St. Helens area are rated as low. That's 1 on a scale of 1 to 5. So we're expecting generally safe avalanche conditions for those areas today. However, as more storms come in, as we get more snow, more wind, that danger is going to fluctuate. So, I'd expect it to go up later this week as we have another round of snowfall hit our mountains.
And what are some of those factors that you're looking at? You mentioned it changes day to day. What are some of those key things that can make an area like that more prone to an avalanche?
Yes, we need 3 things to really have an avalanche. We need avalanche terrain. That's just a fancy word for a slope that can avalanche, but it's not just the steep slope. It's where it starts, where it runs, and where it stops. So it's the steep piece of terrain and those slopes below it. So we need avalanche terrain. We need unstable snowpack. That's just snow that can fall downhill. So to set up the unstable snowpack, we're watching the weather, how much snow we get, what are the temperatures doing, what's the wind doing, and we need something to set that entire thing in motion. Now, thousands and thousands of avalanches occur every year naturally as like more snow falls or as the temperatures change. But when we look at avalanche accidents, over 90% of avalanche accidents are triggered by the person or somebody in their party. So in these situations, we are the trigger. So we need a slope that can avalanche, we need snow that will avalanche, and we need something to set it in motion. And it turns out, when it comes to our accidents, we make really good triggers.
So are we talking about not even just skiing or boarding, but also just hiking up into those areas that could cause something? Oh, I think we had another freeze there, and we'll let Dallas get back. But yeah, just once he's back, we'll hear from him hopefully. But talking about some of those dangers up there and just what to know. So if you are going to be heading up to those mountains, I think that's really interesting. Some of those factors. So you got to have the snow, you got to have that terrain, and then that trigger, which to me seems like that would be ideally not something that a human could do, but it sounds like humans are good triggers for that. We're maybe waiting there on a cliffhanger. If our technology is not going to allow Dallas back on with us, but we'll see here. Let's do this. Okay, I think we did lose him for a second, so I'll just bring you back in to our look there at Mount Hood. I'm going to see if we can get Dallas back here in with us, and I think we are going to have him back. So, Dallas, just switched to a picture there at Mount Hood while we were waiting, but heard the three factors. So. Which is great. So we have the terrain, the snow, and then something that's going to trigger that. So when it comes to triggering that, can it be as simple as somebody skiing or boarding or even hiking in an area where there's potential for an avalanche?
Yeah, absolutely. We make really good triggers no matter what we're doing, whether we're snowmobiling, backcountry skiing, snowshoeing. All of those things can act as the triggers on the slope. So one of the things by checking the avalanche forecast, we will provide some travel advice on how you can move around the mountains and avoid these potentially dangerous areas.
And right now, I know it changes day to day, but right this moment, or maybe for these next few days, you mentioned that it's low, but if that potential snow comes in later on this week, that could increase that risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the weather is so dynamic, the mountains are gonna follow suit, and so we oftentimes, particularly here in the Northwest, we see our avalanche danger frequently rise and fall as the weather patterns come in. However, the snowpack also can stay weak on the ground, and so we do want to make sure that we're monitoring that throughout the winter so that you can get that information from us and make informed decisions about when, where, and how to travel.
What's one of the biggest mistakes people do when they're entering into avalanche territory like that?
Yeah, it can be really easy to think about just the big, super big, steep slopes that are really kind of obvious and scary. But one of the best tools that we can have as a backcountry traveler is learning to identify which slopes can avalanche. That's really part of what we do in avalanche education, whether you take a free 90-minute awareness class through a group like the Northwest Avalanche Center, or you take a longer format, like 3-day course through like a local guide service. They're going to help you learn to identify these slopes where avalanches start, run, and stop. And some of those are really big and obvious, and some of those are a little subtle. And so learning to recognize those subtle ones is really key.
Do you think it's important for people, if they are going to be going up into that area, to wear some kind of a beacon or some kind of protection or, I don't know, any emergency gear for the potential of an avalanche?
Yes, we've talked a lot about getting the forecast. One of the other big pieces is to make sure we have the correct equipment. Like you mentioned, we can carry avalanche rescue gear. There's 3 parts to that. There's an avalanche transceiver, an avalanche probe, and an avalanche shovel. And everybody in the group needs to carry all 3 pieces of this to carry out an avalanche rescue. These avalanche transceivers, when we turn them on, they're sending out signals. If we get buried in an avalanche, then our friends can actually ask their transceiver to find nearby avalanche transceivers, and then it can locate in. Then we need the probe to pinpoint their location and the shovel to dig them out. Time is of the essence, so making sure that we not only have the gear, but we know how to use it appropriately. You got about 10 to 15 minutes before the chance of survival really begins to drop.
Wow. So you've got to move quickly then if that's going to be the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why it's so important to make sure we get the forecast. So 1, we avoid the avalanches. Number 2, we get the gear. So if we are involved in an avalanche, we have the equipment to carry out an avalanche rescue. And we also get the training. We have the understanding of how to use all of that information in the forecast and how to use our avalanche rescue gear appropriately.
If somebody does find themselves caught up in one, is there anything they can do personally while that's happening to try to increase their chances of making it out of it?
Yeah, great question. The biggest thing, if you notice that the snow around you is moving, the biggest thing you can do is just fight. You want to fight to stay on the surface. You want to fight to get out of the avalanche. You want to fight because you're fighting for your life. And this is grab, kick, punch, protect your face, all those things. Try to get out of this avalanche. If it starts to come to a rest, you can try to clear an air pocket around your face. And be as big of an object as you can. Spread your feet and arms in every single direction, and maybe something will break the snow surface. If we can break the snow surface, then there's a chance that our friends can find us even faster.
Okay. All right. Good things to know, but it sounds like a lot of it is pay attention to what you all are doing there as far as tracking where those areas are. Try to avoid it to begin with.
The key is avoidance, avoidance, avoidance. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anything else that you think is important for people to know?
No, you can find the Northwest Avalanche Center and other local avalanche centers in Oregon at avalanche.org.
All right, Dallas, thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate your time and just getting this information out there and the work that you all do. And so we're paying attention here for later this week to see if some of those forecasts change.
Thanks so much.
All right, and for everybody watching, we are live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, as I mentioned. So we've got more coming up for you. We're actually going to be talking to one of the engineers on the Artemis 2 mission from NASA. So we're going to hear from him about some of the work that he does in the specific area. There's a lot of people that work on that. So we'll find out some of that information coming up, and we'll have a lot more. If there's breaking news, we'll also bring you that. But we'll take a break for right now. We'll be back soon. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.